Sewing makes me happy, even more so when I can share my love of sewing with you. While I enjoy showing my finished projects, teaching is really my passion. Many of you know that I'm a third-generation school teacher. For years, I have loved seeing students learn new techniques and complete projects, even simple projects. Not everything we do has to be a difficult sewing project to bring pleasure. We have some simple techniques today, including a quick bias project, which my good friend Steve Jeffery will share with you. My other guests today are Beverley Sheldrick and Charlotte Gallaher. Welcome to my sewing room. I'm so glad you came today. Making bias strips is really easy now because we have these wonderful bias tape makers. And we can go anywhere from really skinny to really wide. And actually, these are even color-coded, and you just slip it over your piece of bias, slip it on, and quite magically, your bias tape is made. Green, yellow, red, blue, and silver. And you know something, I had never even seen one quite this wide. So I guess that this would be for your all kinds of home decorating projects, but it's so nice to have these incredibly quick, it's just sliding down, have these incredibly quick bias tape makers. Steve Jeffery is my very, very special guest today. Steve is president of Baby Lock USA. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Martha. It's great to be here again.
And I love this pillow you've made. A very manly pillow.
A very manly pillow,
with
yes
cowboy
indeed.
boots and lassos and absolutely fabulous things. And what I really would like to share with our viewers is this bias tape that has been mitered along the edges, which really gives that nice decorative trim. And we know it's easy to do.
Well, it is an easy technique, and we're happy to show it to you right now.
Okay.
First and most important is that you cut the correct size of the strip to fit into your bias tape maker. Now, the bias tape maker here, the fabric is fed in, and you simply pull it through the maker to form and fold the fabric correctly. While you're pulling it through, you simply press it down so you have a good crisp edge when that is finished, like that. I'll set this over here, Martha.
Okay,
Thank you very much. The next thing you want to do is to fuse the bias tape with a fusible webbing, and that allows you to place the webbing in the proper position on your project. And you'll take the iron and you simply, once you peel the paper off of the fusible web, place it on your project and press it in place so you can get the proper position for your project. The next and the most fun part is to attach that with your sewing machine to your project. Okay. Now you can use a couple of different techniques for that. First, you can use a twin needle to sew one time through down on your bias to attach it to your project, or you can use a blind hem foot with a special guide that allows you to sew, which I'll do here in just a second, attaching the bias to the project. You simply run it using the guide on the blind hem foot, run it down your garment or your project, and you go back and repeat that in place to attach it permanently to your pillow, to your quilt, or to your blanket that you're making.
You know, Steve, we have used bias. Now, this is a very masculine.
It is.
You know, with the browns, but we've used the bias tape to do lace shaping and heirloom sewing.
Yes, of course.
The bias really can be used in a lot of ways, and in quilting, we've used it in heirloom and then in the traditional quilting too. Well, Steve, thank you so much for this wonderful project.
It's been a pleasure again to be here.
Quick and easy technique. And now Steve has some sewing inspirations for you. You know, Steve, when you brought these beautiful things and I was looking at the wonderful machine embroidery, I was just thinking, I just wish everyone had the fun of knowing how to sew.
Yeah, they are beautiful.
And how to make these beautiful things that will be treasured for many generations to come. This is a wonderful table runner. And I have to tell you that this pillow absolutely speaks my line. Oh, look at the colors, the browns. And what is so much fun is all of the different fibers and the crazy patch and the sequins. I call those diamonds.
It gives it a dimension.
The diamonds.
Yeah,
Put
the diamonds are always good.
The diamonds are always good. Beautiful and wonderful in any kind of house that has those colors. I think this is the quilting stitch. which
It
I
is.
know I don't know whether I can get close enough for you to see this, but I'm going to tell you, this really looks like hand
Yes, it does.
quilting.
Yes, it
And
does.
I am so thrilled that our sewing machines are doing things like this today, because honestly, Steve, when I look at that, I think, and yes, no, I didn't think Steve would be bringing hand quilting, but that was done on the machine.
Yes, it is.
Beautiful
it's a great,
quilting
great
stitch.
technique.
And of course, always my favorite heirloom. Oh my
course,
goodness. Silk
of course.
Dupioni, all of these wonderful built-in embroidery
Yeah,
designs.
those are beautiful.
Oh, incredible.
Yes.
I just have never seen anything quite like that. And this would be a sewing bag, quite an elegant sewing
Yes,
bag, I
yes.
might add, or knitting bag. And then these wonderful sewing accessories. And I know sometimes when we do workshops, we make wonderful accessories like this. It's really something that everybody would enjoy using. This has rickrack and lace. And I think this is a little, let me see if I can pull this.
Little treasure bag.
A little treasure bag, except you know what? It's really a needle case.
Oh, okay.
It's really a needle case. You can put your sewing machine needle, and it is a treasure bag, of course. And then always book covers. Journal covers.
Yes.
This is a wonderful paperback book cover made beautifully. I heard somebody say recently that they had found that their mother-in-law had kept maybe 30 years of journals. She had one for every week, and that she was going to do, every year. And they didn't even know that she kept a
Really,
journal.
that's precious to
And
have that.
It really is.
really
And so
is.
she was going to make some covers like this for her mother-in-law's journals that they discovered.
Yeah, that's beautiful work.
Well, I just love all of the beautiful things that you have brought, and thank you for sharing, and
It's our pleasure to
thank
have
you for doing all these wonderful things for the whole sewing world. And now Steve has a so quick and so easy gift idea for you. Steve, I really love your book cover here, done out of these wonderful men's clothing
Yeah,
fabrics.
yeah.
And oh, I like all the couching. Let me just turn it around here. It is so pretty, all those pretty colors and the pretty threads, and you just slip your book right in there after you make it to fit.
Yeah,
Now,
it's a-
what have you got?
Well, it's a great little gift idea that we have. It uses the techniques of crazy patch and couching. First, you need to have a foundation fabric, which we've chosen this canvas fabric, and lots of little pieces of wool is a good choice. You can get that from old trousers that you've hemmed. Go to your local tailor show and pick up some fabrics there. What you do then is you want to attach the wool to the piece, to the foundation fabric. You'll stitch your first piece down. The second one you'll attach and put it kind of a wrong side down, if there is a wrong side, or wrong side up, I
Yep,
should
wrong
say.
side up.
Then you'll stitch that down, pull that over, and press it down. And take your next piece, attach it in however you want to do it. It's a crazy patch technique. And then you fold that over and press it down as well. The finished result will look like this. Then you can take some decorative designs or decorative stitches and sew down the seams to give it a unique, embellished, fresh look for your book cover. Another technique you can also do to put a designer look to it is to take some trims and yarns and attach them by couching them to the piece of fabric for the cover. To do that, we've attached a couching foot to the machine, and we simply, let me get the foot controller here, sew that on to the piece of fabric, and you can sew it in any way, shape, or form you want, because the foot automatically guides the yarns or the trims onto the machine.
Using a zigzag,
Using a zigzag stitch, yes, to attach it to the piece of fabric.
and you can sew in any direction, upside down, inside out.
Any way that you want.
And you know what? I think that, didn't you say that you usually use invisible thread when you're working with these?
Usually use invisible thread so that it blends right into the fabric, and the highlight is the fabric and the yarns that you put on the piece.
In other words, we're going to crazy patch and we're going to have fun with that wonderful couching.
We
foot.
always try to have a good time.
We do have a good time. That's what sewing's all about, isn't
And
it?
then there's a finished result as you showed before.
With the beautiful different thread. And you actually, some of this is just the pretty decorative stitches
Pretty
on the
decorative
sewing machine,
stitches.
too.
It holds the seams down, and then you can embellish it with the couching.
Steve, thank you so much for being here with me today.
You're quite welcome.
And now we have some hand embroidery to share with you. I'm so pleased to have as my guest today my dear friend Beverley Sheldrick from New Zealand. Beverley has authored several books on needlework, written many, many articles for many, many different publications, and she is a regular contributor to So Beautiful magazine. Beverley, Thank you for being on the show today.
Well, thank you, Martha, for inviting me, and it's always a pleasure just to be here with you and to be able to talk with your viewers. Now, Martha, today I want to spend just a little bit of time on daisies and forget-me-nots and one or two other little things as well while we go along. These are so simple because basically all they are it's called in this country either a ribbon stitch or a Japanese ribbon stitch, or if you're looking at an Australian magazine then it will be called a split stitch, and that's a very apt name because that's exactly what it is, a split stitch. But it's used in several ways and I'm going to talk about that as we go along. Now we have, you'll just see here, I've got my first stitch here, which is, as I said, a ribbon stitch. We have the 5 put together like this and it becomes a daisy with a little knot in the middle, and I'm going to show you it's just slightly different. It's my variation of a colonial knot. We have here a couple of things that can go wrong with this stitch, and people sort of say, can anything really go wrong with a stitch that's so simple? But yes, it can. And then at the end here we have a leaf, which is it's exactly the same stitch. Change the colour and you've got a leaf. So we have that there. And then we have this small daisy stitch, which is or what I call a forget-me-not. And while it looks like the same 5 stitches, it's actually done in a totally different way. And the reason for doing it like that, Martha, is so that we can get it really small. Sometimes you want something a little bit bigger than a French knot, but you still just want a little dot of colour. And to be able to achieve that, if we do it in the way that I'm going to show you, then it's just so easy. So I use these a lot, and it's a good way to do them. Now we're going to just start over here. You will see that I have drawn a little circle here, and so when you're doing them in your mind's eye, you've got to mentally draw that little circle. If you feel you must, you can draw it in, but it's not really essential. And then you will see here I've actually drawn the placement of the 5 petals. I don't normally bother, but if you're feeling a little uncertain as to getting them evenly, particularly when you first start doing this, then you'll find if you draw it lightly in pencil, it will help you. So you can see here I've done the first of these ribbon stitches, and we're just going to quickly go over that. The secret, ladies and gentlemen, is simply to put your needle in the middle of, you lie the ribbon down flat on the ground, then you put the needle in the middle, and here's the secret. You put your thumb hard up against that needle so that when you pull it like that, you will find that the end will just go round, it'll curve round it like that, and you've got a nice point. You don't end up with a big roll here or no point at all, which is what has happened here. People have been taking it through carefully only to find that it went. And when I first started teaching, if I heard somebody going, ah, I knew from the other side of the room exactly what had happened.
What they had done.
The rabbit had gone down the hole. So here we are. You will see that I've shown you how to do that, and we've now got these 5 here. Now this little knot that I'm going to put in the center, because obviously you need something to fill that hole, I'm just going to do my 1 wrap like that, and then before I take it in again, I'm just going to come round like that, giving it another little twist, and then taking it through, and you can see that gives you quite a big one there like that. Now the other thing I was saying to you that I wanted to talk about with these forget-me-nots. Now normally we always work from the outside, from the inside to the outside. And this time we're going to work from the outside in. So we're coming in like this, and then I'm going to bring my needle up here again like this, and I'm going to give it a little tug just like that, and that will help to open that hole. And so because the needle is sliding down against the silk ribbon, you can actually use that same center hole all the time, because if we're making something very small, we don't want it to be to have a big hole in the center. The flower just becomes too big altogether, and that is not the purpose of the exercise. So you can see how when I take that needle through like this, that little tug, and it's just sliding through. If I tried to do it from the other way, the point of the needle would catch on the silk ribbon and you'd have an awful mess. And I don't think anybody wants an awful mess, especially not me. And then I'm just going to go over that leaf, because we know it's exactly the same as the stitch we used in our daisy. And so there you can see I've got it in the middle, I've got my thumb hard against it like that, and I'm pulling it like that. And there's just one other little thing that I want to talk very quickly about, as we have a moment or two. Something people know that I don't work with knots, and somebody said to me recently, oh, well, I had difficulty with it pulling through. Well, the secret is to make sure, and you can see I've got some nice dark cotton here, to make sure that you stitch that little tag to the back like that very firmly, and then you can put a little knot there, but you don't go right the way through, of course, but you can just stitch it to whatever you've got on the back, and that will hold it firmly like that. If you're catching it with, say, you're using another ribbon, then you're going through, but don't go right to the very end here. And that will keep it all neat and tidy, and you won't have great knots, which you can be carefully getting it just right, and what happens? You hit a knot. Your hard work's gone.
Beverley, thank you so much, and thank you so much for all of the beautiful work on this beautiful christening ensemble for William. Thank you so much, Beverley.
Thank you.
And now we have some sewing accessories for you. I'm so happy to have as my guest today my dear friend and business colleague, Charlotte Gallaher. Charlotte is Machine Embroidery Director for Martha Pullen Company, and I cannot wait to show you this beautiful sewing organizer that Charlotte has designed and made. This is an antique embroidery design on the front that Charlotte has used, this wonderful pin cushion. I'm just going to open this up so you can see how beautifully done this organizer is on the inside, with places and pockets for just a little bit of everything. Now what I really want to show you is this wonderful chatelaine that goes around the neck. Let's see, I'll hold it up here so you can see it. And there's a needle case and scissors and this beautiful lace machine embroidery. And Charlotte, I know you have some magic to show us on how you did this wonderful chatelaine.
I do, Martha. This was a great fun because I love embroidery. And the entire chatelaine was done in the embroidery hook. And what you would need to do this is water-soluble stabilizer, and I like to use the new paper ones because they disappear so fast. And you will need some length of ribbon for your attachments and the neck piece, and a glue stick. You need to have a freestanding lace design. You'll also need to wind your bobbin with the same thread that you're using on the top, because both sides will be seen. This is the finished design that I used, and it's a design that has stops for attaching fabric if you want to. So in order to do this, I hooked the paper stabilizer, the wash away, and I did the first color, which gives you the outline to place your ribbons. Then you're going to fold 2 pieces of ribbon for your, one is for your scissors and the other for seam ripper. And once it stitches across and stops for the first color, you fold your ribbon together, use a glue stick and put on the bottom to attach it. Then you do your second color, it comes across and attaches that. After that is done, you continue with the design and it will stitch part of the design. Then there's another loop at the top to attach your neck piece. You do the same steps you did for the bottom. You fold your ribbon, put glue on it, and it will stitch across. After that is done, I also like to pin the ribbons out of the way so nothing gets caught in the sewing machine. This is the completed design, and once you've done that, you're going to take it out of the hook, put it in water, and all this will disappear, and you'll have this lovely design like in the machine.
And you know, Charlotte, for those people who have not seen this, what we call the paper-like water-soluble stabilizer, I thought we would just kind of show you how easy it is. Although it works like a tearaway, all you do is dip it in the water, kind of get it down there a little bit, get it good and wet, and then you pull it out of the water, let it dampen, and then it just begins to disintegrate. It just begins to go away, as you can see. Of course, you don't have to play with it. You leave it in the water a little bit longer, but the wetter...
You don't have to soak it like you do some of the earlier stabilizers.
And see,
once you have that done, you just put it in some towels to soak up the water, and then either let it air dry, or I usually press mine on the back side to dry them. And they're ready to go. All you have to do is use a slip knot and attach your implements that you're going to put.
See, there was that stabilizer just right here on my fingers. Okay.
Yeah.
Charlotte, thank you so much. And next I have a beautiful antique dress from my vintage clothing collection to share with you. This dress is absolutely fabulous, and it has some of the most interesting sewing ideas which are incorporated. As you can see, the dress has a scoop neck, which would have been putting it around 1860, 1870 for the original dress. Originally, it had the little short sleeves. Uh-oh, almost dropped it. Had the little short sleeves, but you can see now it has long sleeves, which my guesstimate is that the mother or grandmother that inherited this dress for her new little baby, the styles had changed around 1900 and people liked long sleeves for their christening dresses. So they just went in and added these little long sleeves, making it a conversion dress. And you can see all the way down the dress how beautiful all the tucks are, how absolutely fabulous it is, but I especially love those conversion sleeves. I have a wonderful letter today from Jan Squires, who's a Martha Pullen licensed teacher, who writes on behalf of the American Sewing Guild, one of my favorite organizations in Ocala, Florida. Citrus County, Florida schools reported nearly 200 school children classified as homeless. Our chapter responded to sew for these children. The response was overwhelming. The members sewed novelty pillowcases, and at Easter time, they made beautiful sewn bunnies and beautiful outfits. Members also donated socks and jeans for these children. It is wonderful to see that these American Sewing Guild members have adopted such a wonderful project. School personnel visited our group and had us in tears as they reported what our gifts meant to the children and how grateful the staff was to have these clothes when they were faced with this sad situation on a daily basis. Jan Squires, Martha Pullen licensed teacher from Florida. Jan, thank you, and thank your American Sewing Guild members for me personally so much for caring enough to see about the needs of the homeless children in your area. I'd be willing to bet that was the first new Easter outfit that some of these children had ever had, and possibly these lovely things you've made are the first new clothes these children have ever had. Jan, thank you and your friends in Florida so very much. And I also want to thank you very much for joining us in my sewing room today. I hope you've had a good time. Won't you come back next time?